Network. We are live for our pregame show. My co-host Tyler Steege in the house. We also have a special guest with us who works with us on Eagles Brawl, my man, Greg Malinchek. Greg, unmute yourself real quick and tell everybody how hype you are to join Eagles Brawl.
Dude, it's been life-changing since I've joined.
It's gonna cry.
Here, baby. So we are gonna.
We gotta get my man some water.
Let me go get some water.
Yo, hey, if you don't have a beer popped open yet, I mean, we gotta get something.
No, we gotta get the beer going.
Man.
It's time to get hype, man. It's Eagles Ball, baby. Let's go. That's all I like to see.
He said it was life changing, and he had to walk off. That was amazing. Are we good?
We're good. Let's talk ball. So,
let's go.
Right off the bat, Miles Sanders being out. What's our takes?
Sad, disappointed. No, I mean, to be honest, it was like when the news came out, you weren't surprised. It was almost like, what do you expect from this medical staff? But
a new staff.
Yeah, I know, but for 3 straight years. So it's like at this point, there's got to be a consistency. Yeah. But as far as, I mean, being able to plug in Boston Scott is actually amazing. You have a back that can do everything. You're not missing a beat in the receiving game. I am kind of sad that I do get to miss Miles Sanders, though. I was excited to see him.
Upset about
Let's
Miles
go,
Sanders.
man.
I'm so upset about Miles Sanders.
Yeah.
I really wanted him to play. So look, Miles Sanders goes off against the Redskins, though. He did pretty well. I mean, week 1 last year is his rookie season. He did have that touchdown. It was a BS holding call. So now you have who he goes the couple weeks left before the season when the Eagles played the Redskins. He went off. He had the huge long runs and everything. It hurts. It hurts not to have him out there. But I will say, Boston Scott, do you have faith in Boston Scott today? Is this a guy that you're thinking like playing in fantasy?
Immediately. I was just going to say I have Sanders in 2 redraft leagues, immediately just swapped out Scott. Scott's in the lineup, and I wouldn't be surprised if he got 15 points today. It's a good matchup. I mean, overall, I mean, yeah, you do think big picture, and they're being patient with Sanders, so you can't be upset about it. You got to be thinking past week 1. It's just upsetting because this happened over a month ago, and they downplayed it. You know, the entire vibe around the injury was he'll be fine. They're just holding him out until week 1, and then this comes out a day before the game, and it's like, bro, this is happening again. This is the same shit that was happening last year, and this is why fans get impatient and they start to feel uneasy when somebody's listed as day to day or week to week. We don't know how the fuck to feel. So overall, it sucks. But I mean, I get it. Hopefully, if he misses week 2, then this is a way bigger issue than they're painting it out to be. So hopefully he's not. Oh, look at this. We've got activity in the chat.
Yes, we do. So here's my thing, though, with the whole running game. I don't know if they utilize it a lot today. I could see a game where Carson Wentz throws about like 40 passes.
I was thinking, yes, agreed 100%.
So, with that being said, leading into Dakota's question, I don't know what to do. Josh Allen and Singletary flex or Wentz or Rager in the flex. Rager in the flex. Also, Rager or Ruggs today. We got Mike joining us actually right now. Let's go, Mike K.
Mike
in the building.
K.
What's up, fellas?
You know,
Mike.
You know what, Mike? So I get this text from Conor yesterday, and he says we're going to be blessed with Mike K's presence tomorrow. So I'm like super pumped. I'm super excited, right? And then like I wake up. It's very early on the West Coast. It's 7 a.m. right now. Somehow I have a beer. Cheers. And so I wake up and I get on Twitter. I do my daily routine, and I'm on Twitter, and all of a sudden I see you on a different podcast, just committing podcastery right in front of our eyes. And I was truly confused that we have to share you.
Everybody, you know what? I had to make the rounds. Look, I'm somebody who wants to support everyone that I can. So, you know, we talked about this before. You know, I'm going to give you gems that I didn't give them, and vice versa. And we're going to make this a thing, okay? You know, hopefully I'm on here again with you guys. You guys are my guys. Love being on with you. So let's take this in a different direction. We spoke a lot on the other podcast that I was just on about crowd noise. Let's focus on the game. What do you got?
Mike, why is Miles Sanders out? I kind of had this conclusion that they were being overly cautious with the running back. Now it announces he's out. Or is this something that we should be worried about long term, or is this just week one making sure Miles Sanders is all right?
I got to tell you, I was under the impression he was going to play this week. He looked good jogging. He looked good running at practice. I saw the report that it's a precautionary measure. That seems ridiculous to me because if you look at the back half of their schedule, they really need to win early. That said, imagine going to your doctor and the replacement is a guy who works for the Eagles. And he says, you know what? I know you're having stomach pain, but it's only day to day. You know what I mean? Like at this point, listen, I had heard whispers of Lane Johnson having surgery several weeks ago. Nobody would confirm it. And it was confirmed the other day. I've come to just take it as when Doug Peterson says day to day, it's week to week. And when he says week to week, it's month to month. And when he says month to month, you're dead. So that's kind of the joke we have amongst the Eagles beat writers. But look, do I think he plays against the Rams? Sure. I think what they did with Jalen Reagor was very smart. A lot of people are looking very dumb for their reports. It's why I think injury reporting is very, difficult to do. And I respect people that put it out there, but to go from he might miss 2 to 3 weeks to him suiting up in week one, rough look.
Here the thing what really makes me feel uneasy is you've only got, I just don't, the depth there. Like, if you knew, it makes them not signing somebody and then him being listed as out makes me feel like this injury was not what they originally thought. Like, it's a little bit more severe. Because I think they knew he was going to miss one, somebody would have signed.
So, let me say this. Boston Scott, the last time he took over for Miles Sanders, made them feel pretty good. He scored 3 touchdowns. He converted a ton of short yardage plays. That's what I don't think people realize. Like, when people talk about it like a short yardage back, he completed like an incredible percentage or converted on an incredible percentage of his short yardage stuff. So I think from that aspect, they felt comfortable. Corey Clement had one of the best running back training camps I've ever seen. And I've been doing this for a while. Granted, there wasn't a lot of tackling the ground, whatever. But I'm not using hyperbole when I say he looked phenomenal. And then, Huntley's going to be Jordan Howard in week 17. He's only going to play in case of emergencies. This is not going to be like a big thing. But I also think you have to look at it this way. In this game, you're going to use a lot of extensions of the running game. You're not going to use the running game a ton. I could see them running the ball 20 times. I think this is a game that you use a lot of screens because that's where Corey Clement and Boston Scott both, excel. You're going to have to use quick slants. You're going to have to, by the way, Jalen Reagor playing is huge for that. Reagor was dominant as a slant runner because, and I said this earlier, what a lot of people don't understand about route running is it's not just route running. You've got to be able to use other techniques with your routes. Like, it's something that I think Keenan Allen does very well is when he runs slants, he also shields his body. That's how you break tackles. That's how you extend plays. And I think Jalen Reagor does that very well. I think when you look at this team, the strength of what they're going to do in this game is a lot of draws, a lot of play action. They're going to have to free up timing for these blockers, no matter who they are. Dallas Goedert's got a broken thumb. He's probably not going to be that dominant as a pass catcher. So you're going to see him doing a lot of blocking. And in this case, that's the right way to go anyway. Zach Ertz is pissed off. He's going to play pissed off. If you don't think he's going to put on a show, he's going to want to get his, and Carson Wentz is going to want to get him his.
How worried are you of this offensive line?
So here's what I'll say. Let me. You know me. I'm not. Look, this doesn't affect me either way, but I like to give you guys some optimism. Jack Driscoll, when he was in college, played at Auburn. He went up against some of the best speed rushers in the league, or in the SEC. So they were the best speed rushers in the country. He went up against Montez Sweat when he was at UMass as a starting right tackle. He's familiar with he's not just some like guy that they're throwing out there. He's not some guy from like Missouri State. You know what I mean? Like he's played at Auburn. You know, I mean, I'm not saying that he's going to be the best player in the world, but like he's ready for the moment. I think Matt Pryor. If he plays right tackle, he's not the typical athlete that you want in a Stoutland, outside set. I think he's better off at right guard. I would play Driscoll, who has a very similar athleticism standpoint to Andre Dillard. Actually, if you look at their spider graphs, they're almost like identical. Look, if Lane plays and you have Matt Pryor right guard, you're feeling good. But look, having a high ankle sprain is really difficult for a guy of that athleticism and that size. So, we know that Lane's tough as nails, but is he going to be able to withstand that pain, So
it's not a great feeling either, like, for week one for him to already, it seems to be having to, like, do whatever he can.
Too.
Yeah, like, I like what they're doing with Sanders, so I feel I do it with Johnson as well. Like, I don't want Lane to be limping along by week 5, because a high ankle sprain isn't something. I mean, that's something that can be re-injured pretty easy.
Yeah, sure.
So
yeah,
your quarterback has durability issues, though.
That's what I'm saying. Like, this isn't. I would rather them be more cautious with Lane than they are with Myles.
I agree. I totally agree with that. I'm completely with you on that. Look,
it's still Eagles by 75 today. Make no mistake about it.
I think they win by 6, but yes, I think they're in a spot where, look, Chase Young is getting an abnormal amount of hype. I'm not saying he's not a great prospect, but like he is still a rookie in his first game. He's playing without a crowd.
How Ron Rivera handled Brian Burns in Carolina, I'm not that worried about Chase Young's expectations this year, to be honest with you.
They're going to chip. Boston's very good at that. So is Corey. They're going to have Goddard out there pretty regularly, I'd imagine. Excuse me. They still have Ronald Darby in that secondary. If Kendall Fuller's not playing, yikes, down the seam.
Me and Conor were talking. Do you think this is a game where Wentz is throwing 40 or 50 times?
No, well, yeah, maybe, but I don't
think it could turn into that type of game.
I don't think it's one of those ones where, like, I don't think they need him to, but I do think that they're going to use the screen game as an extension of the running game, and so in turn, yeah, maybe he's throwing 40 times. But I think they're calculated throws, right? You're talking about like games that quarterbacks typically throw 40 to 50 times. They're not necessarily calculated; they're out of necessity. This will be more of a calculated throwing performance, in my opinion.
So,
yeah.
Do you think there could be some explosive plays though, Mike? Because that secondary, I'm looking at it, and I mean, Landon Collins is the only one that's coming back for year 2 with that secondary, and again, it's a whole new system, Jack Del Rio system. I look, Kendall Fuller's out, Ronald Darby, and Jimmy Moreland, and Vivian Moreau, and like I would assume you would want to take advantage of the downfield passing with the speed you have this week.
Yeah, I mean, I tweeted it out earlier. The first play of the game should be 12 personnel, play action.
I saw that. Yes, I agree.
Just the Andy Reid staple. The Andy Reid staple.
Well, but like you need to look. I made this analogy earlier. Luke Skywalker warned Jabba the Hutt several times before that lightsaber came out of R2-D2. You have got to. It doesn't matter if that play even works. You just have to make them aware.
Make the defense respect you. Right.
I spoke to Maurice Jones-Drew about this like a few weeks ago. He's like, if those guys can't get downfield and make plays, the young kids, it's not going to matter. You have to free up the box for Boston Scott. He's not Miles Sanders. But you also want to open things up for Zach Ertz, who is your bread and butter. And I do think Zach Ertz has a big game here. You also want to open stuff up for Greg Ward. You're entering a game where, as much as Eagles fans know Greg Ward, they know Boston Scott, they know some of these rookies. there's not a ton of tape on a lot of these guys. Like, if you're scouting Boston Scott, you're scouting 4 games. If you're scouting Greg Ward thoroughly, you're probably only scouting like 3 games where he had like definitive action. So, and you have no tape on Rager, you have no tape on John Hightower, you don't have tape on Driscoll, you don't have, I mean, like, there are some advantages. If anything, Washington, a lot of people have made claims about the Eagles having a similar coaching staff. If anything, Washington has the advantage there because they know what to expect from the Eagles. It's from a scheme standpoint, but from a player standpoint, they're on kind of an even keel. And I think that the Eagles are a better coached team. I think they're a more talented team, and I think that's what wins out.
I agree completely. I just want to see what they do with Boston Scott and Corey Clement because I'm excited. This is where you find, because Tyler, you're talking about, I wish they would have brought in the depth. I wish they would have brought in the veteran. This is the game now where you see if you actually need that presence in the backfield. Because again, it's not like these guys are banging down Devontae Freeman's door to sign him. Jaguars just passed because of whatever reasons. I'm not worried about backup running back. That's a position you can fill no matter. I mean, this team added Jay Ajayi mid-season when the running game started to tear for a 4th-round pick. I think find out what you have first. Find out if Corey Clement and Boston Scott can give you roles while Miles Sanders is your featured back. Because if you bring in this veteran running back, you're telling Corey Clement or you're telling Boston Scott, I'm going to have to diminish one of your roles no matter what because I'm going to have to give carries to this veteran back. I want to see what the young guys can do. I want to see a Corey Clement back to 2017 form. I want to see if Boston Scott can build off what he did last year. First down every 7 snaps he was on the field. I think they have something in them. So I want to see what the backup running backs do today. I think that's the matchup to look out for.
If there's any,
want to see what the Eagles do to the Washington's offensive line. It's very weak. This is the game Josh Sweat can come in and make his known. I mean, we're all hyping him up. It's time for him to finally live up to that. This is the game where he could really feast and get those sacks.
Couple things, because I want to hit on something Mike said too. If there's any week to do it to test the depth, it's week 1. I don't mind that. It's just I know we saw last year how quickly things can change when you go into a game with lack of depth, and then if one injury happens, it's like, what are we doing? And so that's what worries me. But they did it against the Giants and the Cowboys last year, so week 1 is fine with me. As far as the Ertz thing, and you said something that I do. I think that Ertz has a huge game today. I think Ertz has a huge game. He's going to play pissed off, and that. 2 things. Ertz is pissed off, and Carson Wentz is his best friend, and you don't think Carson Wentz is going to want to get him paid. Carson Wentz is going to do whatever he can to feed him, too. So there's going to be a little bit of politics when it comes to, like, the ball share or target share. And then Jake Brown's in the chat. D-Jax is going for 250 today, man. No, I'm kidding.
You don't want him going for 250 today. That means that means that it's a shootout, and it shouldn't be.
Still is out.
Right. But no, Deshaun's in every fantasy league that I have him in. He's in my lineup. I think that he's a must start. I mean, it's a revenge. It's his old team. It's a bad secondary. He's healthy. Deshaun is a fun start today. And then, sorry, we're just circling back to Josh Sweat. I'm pumped to see him too in this. Is Tuhill going to be active?
I don't think so. Look, it's hard. Like, you've got to decide between Gennard. Look, they still have to have 3 guys inactive. So if Johnson's up, they have the numbers at defensive end.
Lagunitas, Jake. Sorry, my bad.
So yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I think if you're looking for the Eagles to kind of just like let all the horses out. Tuhill had a great camp, but he also was going up against 2nd and 3rd stringers. There's also no reason to get that cat out of the bag. You know what I mean? I think this should be a very heavy Josh Sweat day. I think this should be a very heavy Brandon Graham day. You might see some Malik Jackson outside. If you're gonna keep Gennard Aber, you need to get something out of him. And I think he's a guy who can play special teams. Did
he line up traditionally in camp? Was he more with his hand in the ground, or did they have him off the ball?
No, he stood. He stood most of the time.
He stood. Why are they doing that?
Because he's 6 foot and weighs about what I do. So,
but Trent Cole is undersized too. I just don't. He's a good pass rusher.
Apples to oranges there, bud.
Yeah,
time out. Okay, I'm not comparing him to Trent Cole. I'm just saying Gennard Avery should not be playing off ball. Why is he playing he's so much better attacking.
I don't think he has the strength to do it. I don't think he has the strength to put his hand in there.
So then why did you trade a fourth for him to play
It's looking
Sam
sketchy
linebacker?
right now, my friend. It's not looking like a good move right now.
Yeah.
But so again, the plan though, when you even initially did it, what was the idea to the coaching staff? Are you thinking Sam? Are you thinking like what is?
Well, you've got to understand how they view linebackers, which I know you both do. They want to use that second linebacker spot in nickel as like several different positions. It's why you saw Malcolm Jenkins play dime linebacker so much. It's why you see them use big safety so much. You will see 3 safeties on the field probably 75% of the time this year. They want that second linebacker spot because they don't really value the linebacker spot to be an interchangeable usage position. So if you're sending 5, you want a guy who you know can win with his hands, but also stand up. And if he has to play in coverage in a pinch, you know you've got that guy.
Like so he's not part of a 4-man rush.
I would not put him in a 4-man rush at all. I mean, like that's just me. Like, look, we talked about it before with the Jalen Hurts pick when I was previously on your guys' show. Like, my job is to have a take on this, but also understand why it makes sense to him. That's them. That's the only general consensus I can have. You know, I'm not allowed to report on formations, what I see in practice, but what I would think is that the benefit of actually having him is as a 5th rusher. You want a guy who can, if he's going to blitz, you want to know that he's used to taking on offensive linemen one-on-one. Because here's what's going to happen. You're sending 4 rushers. If he gets on that center up the middle, you need to know that he can do a swim move in an instant. You want to know that he has the torque to be able to go like that. And some blitzers just don't have that at linebacker. Edwards doesn't have the juice to do that. I
always anticipated their plan because I don't know if we remember the deadline last year, but players were being traded like the guys that were like 4th round picks were getting traded for like Mohamed Sanu was a 2nd round pick at the deadline last year.
This was a cute move. This is what it was. I mean, it was.
So and that's why if you're trading a 4th round pick in my head, when that happened, I'm like, okay, this team thinks that they can do something with this guy. And if you're not, I just don't see any, I'm not excited at all now about it.
You get the guy in your building though. They got him in the building. They maybe were like, oh, this
but
was
even in Cleveland, he was still a decent pass rusher. I thought that was his best ability was putting his, I mean, yes, it may be off the ball, but he could still pass rush. And if they're not even doing that, or they want him to play like as this 5th, like kind of like hybrid rusher / like in coverage, like almost like a 3-4 rover. Like
that's what I think he is. I think he's a rover. I mean, look, it's what they wanted to do with Osman. It's what they basically drafted Hill to fit into that mold. Look, I would have cut.
And that's what I wanted to hit on. I've heard the Barwin comparison. Does he at least have a better pass rush ability than Barwin?
Well, I think you're looking at Barwin in like the twilight of his career in a 4-3 system that he'd never played in before, that he didn't have the ability to put on weight at that point in his career. Hill's already doing that. And Hill worked with Jim Washburn in the offseason. So he has that understanding of the wide 9. I think you're looking at Connor Barwin, a guy who's used to standing up to rush, a former college tight end, who is in the final arc of his career. I think he was kind of put in a difficult spot there. And Hill's not a guy that I think is going to start games. I think he's a rotational edge. He's got great athleticism. Here's where he's comparable to Conor. He's very smart and he's super athletic. That's where the comparison kind of stops.
I agree. You're smart and athletic, Conor.
Thank you.
Right. Exactly. But like that's but that's what I mean. Like, if we can be realistic, like, every pass rusher is different. They can remind you of guys, but that doesn't mean that they're necessarily like. Somebody put that out the other day. I quote tweeted him and said the Eagles think that too. Look, Connor Barwin's in the front office. If he likes the kid because of that, then hey.
I mean, it's a pretty easy comparison. He's a white edge rusher for the Eagles,
right? Who was a college outside linebacker for the most part. He did put his hand down.
Yeah.
He's got great burst. I think he's a little bit more in tune with pass rushing naturally than Conor was. Conor won a lot on stunts. He won a lot on speed. I think that Tuhill's more of a technician, which is what you need in the wide nine. Not everybody talks about like being able to get off the ball, but you also have to have technique, and you also have to be very coachable. Not that Conor wasn't, but Conor also got here, after playing in 3-4 schemes for years. Like you in the NFL, you can't always teach an old dog new tricks. It's you're put in that position. I thought he did fine. I don't think he was terrible in the wide nine. I think that's like an overblown simplification. But I think from Tuhill's standpoint, you're building him up. You're not, you're not like elevating. I mean, you're not like finding a balance. You're literally going like this. You know what I mean? And he has the body to add to his frame.
Mike, I wanted to ask you before you hop off, because I know NJ.com and Chris Franklin, your other writer, covered this very well. This Will Parks injury is way under the table, and I think it's a huge loss for the Eagles. I really not really sure what to expect from the third safety position or what they decide to go with that. If it's going to be Marcus Epps, it's going to be Kevon Wallace. What is your feelings on that?
I mean, I think they go with Epsy, which would be a great rap name, I think, especially for like a rapper who went to college in Wyoming. Whatever. Anyway, they really like Epps. Tim Houck was a huge fan of his coming out of the draft. They could not wait to put in that waiver claim last year. That said, I'm surprised at how that skyrocket of status. I mean, they gave him 22. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, that's a bold number to give him.
Look, he got some playing time last year, didn't look terrific, but now he's been in the defense for a while. He knows what to expect. I think you're going to see more linebacker looks with Parks out of the lineup. Parks is... I want to explain this to people like in a non-condescending way. I think if you didn't watch Denver with him, he's not only versatile, he's very instinctive and smart. And I think that's the biggest issue here. It's not coverage, because, look, he got worked in coverage a couple of times during training camp. It's knowing where to be and being able to be where you're supposed to be. And so that'll be the big thing for Epps. Epps is talented. I mean, I don't think he's a fringe NFL player. I thought he was going to get cut this year and put on the practice squad because I knew they liked him, but I didn't know they liked him that much. It'd be different if Rudy Ford was this guy. I think that's where there'd be a big disconnect. Epps isn't just a special teams player, is my point. They like him. Do I think he's going to be Andrew Zendejo, who actually was somewhat underrated here?
We don't say that name on here. We don't say that name on here.
Sorry. Well, he's a starter for the Browns right now, so.
You think he was underrated here? I think he was absolute ass.
No, he was terrible, but I think he was not absolute ass.
He wasn't as bad as what everybody made it out to be.
He was bad, but they loved him in that locker room. They loved what they saw from him from a physicality standpoint. He did bring an edge. Like there was some value to him being here. Was he a good player? No, but I do think he served his purpose.
That's fair.
It's not fair. I mean, look. Again, there's no LJ Ford.
We don't like warm takes, Mike.
No, I know. So here, let me give you a legit take. Duke Riley. The reason why Duke Riley is probably going to see a lot more time in nickel than you ever expected is because Will Parks isn't here. They like Duke more.
So we're going to see a lot of Duke today, then.
I don't know if you're going to see a lot of Duke, but you'll see more of him than you probably expected, which was probably zero.
Is this like a and somebody asked, this is actually a good segue. Kevon Wallace, I mean, has he looked okay? Because, I mean, if we're talking about instincts, he's somebody that I like his instincts coming out. I mean, does he look to fit in? Or
I think he was with the third string all summer. It's kind of hard to, especially without tackling. I think he's fine. I think you can put him out there, but I don't see why you would rush a rookie out there, maybe hurt his confidence. When you have a guy who's been in the system for about 9 months who you like, I think eventually you will see him out there. I thought it was interesting that they made him the backup free safety as opposed to the backup strong safety, because to me he's a strong safety.
I saw that too.
I don't really think he's I think he can play nickel, but I don't think he's as rangy enough to play free safety, if that makes
I
sense.
don't either. I don't see.
I completely agree with that. I don't think he has it at all.
I don't know if they even believe he's a free safety. That just doesn't.
Right.
I don't think the Eagles have someone
It's
outside Rodney McLeod to do it besides Devontae Maddox, though.
Yeah.
Also,
Right.
And we're going to see that this year. Like McLeod's going to miss snaps eventually. I'm curious to see what that does.
So that's actually a good transition. Let's talk about the secondary, okay? So positionless secondary, here's why it works. So Darius Slay, if he does, I don't think he's going to chase the top guy every single week, because I think that's kind of like, it's to the detriment actually of your secondary if you're doing that with the way they've set it up. That said, if they want to disguise coverage, you have Avonte Maddox who can play 4 different spots. You have Jalen Mills, who in theory can play 3 or 4 different spots.
Probably 4, yeah.
You have Crayvon LeBlanc, who they think can play 4 different spots. They have Nicole Roby-Coleman, who they think can play 4 different spots. This is all about pre-snap disguising, and I think, look, nobody in their secondary other than Slay is over 5'11". Like, in today's day and age, that's kind of scary. But when you look at
it is, but they have short guys that can cover, and that's the secondary isn't something that I'm too worried about. Like I'm pumped to see like McClure. Really?
I'm still. Today, it's questionable. I think the secondary is questionable.
Well, something you have to think about too is they're really the only like big dude they're going to really play is DK Metcalf and like Alan Lazard, like on this schedule. So you know.
Oh no. We're back.
Sorry there, guys. Did I lose everybody?
We lost Mike, too.
Oh,
we're back. We're back!
Look at that.
Sorry about that, everybody. We froze there a little bit. But the secondaries, the chemistry's going to take a little bit.
Well, I mean, sure. But, we finally, I'm not going to downplay this shit. I haven't had a lockdown corner in, I don't know, 9 years. So for them to finally have a Darius Slay and then, a safety cannot have to worry about both sides. The fact that McLaurin will actually have an adequate corner on him today is like huge. Like normally it's like, oh, we're going against a wide receiver 1. We have to at least shade his way. We have to double cover him. Like they have the ability now to actually play single coverage and be able to, like he just said, disguise coverages. There's so much more flexibility on the defensive side that this secondary has added that they haven't had. They haven't had in years.
You're going to be able to play cover 0. You're going to be able to play.
Let me be excited, bro. Come on, Conor. Sheesh.
Yeah, look, the ability to play cover 0 and cover 1 right now is tremendous, and it's something that they haven't really been able to do from a zone concept stance. They just haven't. They're still going to play tons of cover 3. This is Marquand Manuel. He knows what he's doing when it comes to cover 3, probably better than any DB coach in the league. And I think, honestly, like they got rid of the guys who were really cover 2 corners. Sidney Jones is a cover 2 corner, in my opinion. Rasul Douglas is definitely a cover 2 corner. Look, Craig James, a guy who I think can actually man up. He'll be okay, and he can play all 3 corner positions. I think when you look at guys like Nicole Roby-Coleman, who has the range to play in either zone or man coverage, that's good. Crayvon LeBlanc is the little engine that could in both. Although I think he's better in zone coverage. He's like the one guy that they kept that I think benefits more from zone coverage. Look, you've got Jalen Mills facing up. I've said forever, he is not a guy with hips. You can't really put him outside on an island and expect him to play man coverage. It's just not a thing. He's great in the red zone, but here's something that I think we might see. So Avonte Maddox has experience playing free safety. Rodney McLeod, pretty good tackler. In the red zone, maybe you see Jalen Mills outside and Darius Slay outside, and in disguise coverage, you have Avonte Maddox move to safety. It's something that they can, in theory, do.
Or just teams that use running backs, tight ends a lot, like a team like the Niners. Or when they played the Pats in 2017, you saw Malcolm slide outside to play like outside corner. I agree. They're going to be this week to week. The secondary is going to look different. Even half by half, maybe we'll see. But the ability, and that's why I'm so excited, is if there is a running back or if there is a tight end or if there is a receiver that is just tearing this team apart, they have so many different faces or looks that they can show that, like, again, that they just haven't had. So, like, again, we talked about pressure. There's pressure on Schwartz this season because he's got a pass rush and he's got a secondary. And there's pressure on Peterson because he finally has speed. There's a lot of pressure on these coaches. This team, I don't know why, like, the vibe is like, oh, they may win 9 or 10 games. I mean, they absolutely should win 10 games. I understand, obviously, if injuries happen to the O-line, that's the only thing that can make me change that. But, I mean, overall, this team, they can get off to a really hot start, especially with this schedule. I mean, you have the Redskins today. I mean, the Rams next week, the Bengals. If you get off to a hot start and you kind of get healthy, sorry I'm rambling, but because I'm excited, I'm really excited about this secondary. I'm kind of taking it personal, Connor, that you're downplaying the secondary. I'm upset about it.
I know it's going to be great. I think, honestly, today, I think you're going to see a lot of Nicole Roby-Coleman on Terry McLaurin, and it's going to pay off because I think he can actually match his speed. I would actually favor that matchup a little bit more than I would Darius Slay on Terry McLaurin. Obviously, I don't know I doubt Jim Schwartz shadows Darius Slay on Terry McLaurin. I doubt it.
Doesn't make sense.
I actually think Connor, you've hit on something very smart. Here's this scenario that I've played out in my head pretty often. On obvious passing downs, what if Darius Slay covers Antonio Gibson?
I would rather that. Or Steven Sims. I think Steven Sims is a good
I don't know. The Gibson hype needs to, like...
It does, but you also don't know what the hell he is.
Agreed, but he shouldn't require your Darius Slay.
But what Mike's saying actually makes sense, though, because from a receiving standpoint, and you're looking at the linebacker position for the Eagles, that's probably something that the Redskins are. I mean, excuse me. Washington football team is probably looking to exploit, though. I agree with that. You don't need to be. You could be a rookie to catch passes out of the backfield. You don't have to do that much. Gibson's a natural route runner.
If you don't think the teams wanted to put top corners on Myles Sanders towards the end of the season, you're kidding yourself.
Exactly.
It happened.
Well, but we also don't have a Terry McLaurin on our team. We had Greg Ward as number one.
That's true, but Myles Sanders was a legit version.
I hear.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Sorry. I shouldn't say we. I hate when people do that too, so I shouldn't say that.
Anyway, look, here's what I'll say. Look, they like Nathan Gary a lot. They like his range. They like him in coverage. They think he's very smart. I do think that he's a heavily flawed player. But
typically when you're describing smarts as like one of the first things, he's not a very good player.
Well, but so here's the thing. I think that Schwartz really wants a DeAndre Levy. And that's what Nate kind of profiles as. They drafted Davian Taylor because he's basically he played the star position at Colorado. It's a position that doesn't exist in the NFL. It's why he's basically the Jordan Mailata of defense. They really like Sean Bradley. I probably wouldn't put Duke on defense, but they seem to like him. I think TJ Edwards is going to be a really good 2-down linebacker. I just don't think I don't see how he's out there on obvious passing downs. I think he can do it, but I don't think you're at a strength. So you're going to probably put Marcus Epps there, or maybe you put Jernard Avery to be that fifth rusher. They have to stay fluid. Like, that's the thing. Like, a lot of times defensive coordinators get complacent with their scheme. And what I think that Howie Roseman and what Jim Schwartz have done, and Jeremiah Washburn to that token too, they've made it so that you cannot be complacent with this personnel. Like, you have to adjust. Like, part of the issue why Rasul Douglas didn't work out is they didn't really do a good job of playing to their personnel. Now they kind of have to. Like, you have to play to this personnel. Like, you have to use Darius Slay as more than just an outside corner. You just can't do that. You've re-signed Rodney McLeod because of his intelligence and because of his ability to tackle. You've got to move him around. You've re-signed. Look, you brought back Jalen Mills as a safety, and they are all in on this. You have got to utilize him properly. You cannot put him in position not to succeed.
He's about to have a big year.
You've decided to have a 5'9" corner be an outside corner. You have got to protect him properly. You have 3 defensive tackles who are world beaters, in my opinion. I used to be in Jacksonville, and Malik Jackson and I would would just go back and forth about who the top 5 defensive tackles in the league were. And it was clear the top 3 guys in the league were Aaron Donald, Fletcher Cox, Malik Jackson at that time. So, like, you've got I think Javon Hargrave is the most underrated signing in the entire league. I'm a massive Javon Hargrave guy.
Yes.
I was when he was in college. I was when he was on the All-Star circuit. I thought Pittsburgh knocked that one out of the park. And they wanted him. It came really down to, did they want who was it? Isaac or him? And look, I think Isaac's going to have a pretty big year. I think Isaac Seumalo is really kind of, we talk about Jordan Mailata basically being the backup left tackle. I actually think the backup left tackle is Isaac Seumalo. Or if they're smart, that's what they do. I'd rather have Isaac Seumalo out there than Jordan Mitch. So I think if Andre Dillon didn't get injured, I don't know if Jordan Mailata's here. What I will say is I think Jack Driscoll's a guy who has talent. They like him. There were a lot of people in the league that thought he was overdrafted. But I thought he had a pretty good camp. He looked much better at right tackle than I thought he would. And then you kind of look at – I think Matt Pryor's a pretty good right guard. I think that he can develop into that guy. He's not the athletic specimen that you want at right tackle. Excuse me, in a Southern – Jeff Stoutland, offensive line. Sorry, I had a brain fart there. And look, they like Nate Herbig a lot. Like, if Nate Herbig plays today, they're not lacking confidence in that dude. He is not your typical Jeff Stoutland guard. He is a big boy. He's not Evan Mathis. He's not Todd Hermans. He's not, he's not even Brandon Brooks. He is a big, big guy. And he was a very good player at Stanford. Look, they've got, and Suo Peta is a guy who can play left guard. So they've got stuff brewing there. It just doesn't have a lot of experience or tape on it. So,
if Lane doesn't play today, you think Pryor moves to right tackle and they go ahead and they put Nate Herbig in at right guard?
I think that'd be a mistake. I would go Driscoll at right tackle and Pryor at
I
right
agree
guard.
with you.
I don't think Pryor's a tackle, in my opinion.
I don't think I don't think he's fluid enough to work in space.
Yeah, dude, the guy ran like a 5'6". So
exactly.
Look, if they're going to run a lot of screens, you can't put that on the outside because the right tackle is Lane. The reason why their screens work so well is Jason Kelsey, Brandon Brooks, and Lane Johnson because they typically run screens to the right.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I've been very vocal about the Jason Peters thing. I do not think they should have caved. I don't. I think they should have signed somebody else for the sake of the argument. Look, I get it. I got killed by a bunch of guys that are in the business. They text me. They're like, Mike, you're ridiculous. He had to use his leverage. Blah, blah, blah. No, I just think when you have a guy who has literally done everything for this organization in Zach Ertz, and you're seeing this in their promotional stuff too. They have really highlighted Dallas Goedert quite a bit in their promotional material. Like they put out a thing today. Dallas Goedert's up here, sorry, camera, up here, and Zach's here.
Oh,
and then if you watch their hype video with Deuce Staley, Deuce brings up Goddard almost immediately, does not reference Ertz, and then very later on in the package you see Zach Ertz. And I'm just telling you, this is going to be one of those things where the fan base is just going to be like, look, I remember where I was the day that Brian Dawkins left. I remember it. Obviously, I'm not a fan now, but when I wasn't, back in the day, you don't forget that stuff. It's like when Shaq signed with the Lakers, you knew where you were, whether you were a Magic fan or a Lakers fan, or neither. If you were a basketball fan, and I just think you're at the point, Tyler and I have talked about this a ton of times. Zach Ertz is maybe the most underrated player in the history of this franchise. And I just think when you're, look, I have no emotion in it, but I do think when you look at the raw numbers, if you look at the accomplishments, this is the guy who's played through a lacerated kidney. He's led them in receiving yards and receptions the entire Doug Peterson era and Carson Wentz's career. He's led the team in receptions and receiving yards. And then on top of that, he caught the game-winning touchdown pass in their only Super Bowl. I don't know how you can constantly bring back a guy like Darren Sproles, who I have a lot of respect for, Jason Peters, who I have a lot of respect for, who are in like past the twilight of their career.
Bro, Alshon Jeffrey.
I mean,
Like,
Alshon Jeffrey's here, and you guaranteed him money. Like,
there's
I
just so many. You can't justify it.
Let me say this: Zach Ertz isn't the type of guy who gets upset that Jason Peters got paid. He's not the type of guy who gets upset that Alshon Jeffrey's here. I think he's the type of guy who says, like, what more, like, and I'm just guessing, but what more do you have to do? And look, people are talking about, whoa, my shirt's, like, kind of weird looking. Sorry about that, guys. I look like I got, like, you know those guys, like, break their collarbone and they have, like, those, you know, whatever. But, like, Zach Ertz is an offensive cornerstone. Like, people want to compare him to Kelsey. Kelsey's not a good blocker. Like, there's this perception that Travis Kelsey is this great blocker. He's not. He's a decent route runner, or not. He's a good route runner. I mean, and what we talked about earlier, he shelters his body well. Yes, he's a better yak guy. He's a much more talented athlete. But I think when you look at Zach Ertz, he's Mr. Dependable. He's the Jason Witten of this franchise in a lot of ways, and that's who he models his game after. This team has been spoiled at the tight end position for years. I mean, you know, Brent Selleck, if you want to talk about, if Ertz isn't the most underrated player in franchise history, Brent Selleck is.
The most surprising thing, if this hypothetically does get ugly and Ertz isn't here and they don't sign, they trade or release or whatever it comes to, the most surprising thing is Howie is a cap genius, and the tight end market is probably the most affordable market. Like there's no market that is like more affordable to pay top players. Like George Kittle is getting $14 million a year while Cooper Kupp is getting $16 a year.
Right.
If you have a top 3 tight end, there's nothing wrong with paying him top 3 money.
Guys, he's making $6.6 million this year.
It doesn't make sense. So, like, when you bring in and I love Deshaun Jackson, but when you bring in a Deshaun Jackson for $10 million, Ertz is only asking for about $13 a year. So it's like there needs to be a middle ground that is found. I don't understand it. I would be so stunned.
You just let this slip, and I wanted to confirm that you're 100% correct. He is not asking for Kittle or Kelsey money. He's not.
No, he wants.
There's more than Austin Hooper. That's for damn sure.
He wants a 13 to 14 a year, and he's not getting that.
Right. Well, and you know what? Here's the thing too.
It's early.
People love Dallas Goedert, and I get it. Look, he's a physical specimen. He's not anywhere on the same planet as Ertz as a route runner. Not as a technician. Like he's a raw talent. He is, and he's a good blocker. And look, I get it. You spent a second round pick on him. I thought the Zach Ertz pick was a terrible pick when they selected him. Boy, was I wrong. You know, so I think, you know, it's one of those things like your franchise quarterback is clear, like to the point where he's been called out by teammates, clearly favors this player.
Which who wouldn't? Why wouldn't I?
It's a fact. So if you're going to trade him to Chicago or Indianapolis or whatever, you better be getting, you know, a second or first round pick for this kid.
Those are interesting teams that you mentioned there, Mike. Indy is especially, yeah.
Chicago is very, very interesting.
Seattle as well, I've heard.
Yeah, I mean, look, Chicago is where his wife plays soccer. You won't find a guy who likes Zach Ertz more than Frank Reich in Indy, even though they just paid Jack Doyle.
I don't want to do this. I don't want to.
Look, dude, look, it's the reality of the situation. That's why I love that, like, I have no skin in this game. You know, when I look at this from a pure business standpoint, you know, Indianapolis has the cap space. They just paid Jack Doyle, and those guys are both wide tight ends. So I don't know how that would work. But, I mean, they're not going to not trade for Ertz because they have Jack Doyle. But, like, I think when you think about it, it's something to monitor throughout the season. And look, Zach Ertz and Carson Wentz are going to make them pay Zach Ertz. Like that's going to be a mission statement internally for the two of them. Zach Ertz has always had Carson Wentz's back, and vice versa. Look, here's what I would do. I'd give him a raise. I'd give him I'd rip up this contract and give him 3 years. So he's basically got the same length, but you add a year. And you're going to backload it. so that way you skip the issue with the cap next year. But you're gonna have a massive cap. Look, I agree. Look, Zach plays a style that will keep him durable. Look, Travis Kelce's deal was terrible. Like, if you really break down Travis Kelce's thing, APY is like the most overrated stat number when it comes to contracts. His deal is extremely team friendly. Keitel's deal is maybe one of the best deals I've ever seen. So, for a player. So look, he's 29. I don't think
you would think from a player perspective at 29 you would want a 5-year or 4-year extension. You know, you don't want a 3-year because then you're sitting at 32, 33 years old. You're probably definitely not going to get paid. At that point, you're just taking team-friendly deals. But yeah, I mean, from a team perspective, I do think a 3 or 4 year.
I mean, look, 3 years, 39. You give him a massive signing.
3 year, 39. It's really not that bad for your best offensive skill player.
It's on the surface. Listen, and to tell you the truth, I don't know if Dallas Goedert. But here's the thing that you also have to consider. I don't think Dallas Goedert's going to have a very good trade market.
No, Ertz would have a way better trade market.
Right,
Yeah.
but also you have to think about it this way. Do you want to pay Dallas Goedert close to market-setting money when you haven't seen him be the number one guy? See, that's the thing that I would have a concern about if I were Howie Roseman. Yes, he's got all this raw potential, but you're potentially trading away a franchise cornerstone, and then you probably have to turn around and give this kid a $3 or $30 million contract with $20 million guaranteed. Are you willing to do that?
Right. That's a good conversation to have. Is what do you think if you had to do? There's no and, it's or. You have to do Zach Ertz for 3 for 39 or Dallas Goedert 3 for 30. I'll pay the extra $3 million a year for Zach Ertz.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, look, if all things are equal, you're paying the guy who's done it. You know he can do it. You know, I mean, it's one of those things where I think the Eagles find themselves in a weird spot.
Dallas has missed a few games too, right?
Yeah. I mean, he missed the Atlanta game. So
he was 11th in targets for tight ends last year. Played almost 300 more snaps than Mark Andrews, 33 fewer than Kittle, but Kittle was also injured himself. The stigma that everybody has that Zach Ertz really takes away opportunities from Dallas Goedert, I don't think it's that true. I think, yes, there is some more opportunities you can put on Dallas Goedert's plate, but I don't think it really ruins it. Obviously, it's the commitment to 12 personnel is the reason why.
Well, here's the thing. They would not commit to 12 personnel if they didn't have the guy. Like,
right.
The reason why they committed to 12 personnel with Selleck is Selleck was such a great blocker and such a smart player. You know, Brent Selleck was averaging like 12 catches a game, I think, the last 2 or 3 years of his career. So
a season.
You know, so like you have a wide tight end who can get open with ease, and then you have an inline blocker like Goedert or Selleck. There's no, like, look, Goedert can play wide, but there's no guarantee that he's going to get open or catch the ball as efficiently or run the routes as efficiently, or he and Carson. Look, he and Carson have a good relationship as far as I know, but you said it. Ertz and Wentz, they're like this, son. Mm-hmm. So I think it's one of the. I think it's something you have to consider. I got to roll on a few, but one thing I wanted to really touch on with you guys before I leave. We talked about Josh Sweat earlier. This is a national year for him. I'm just letting you know, so you are aware.
Get the nugget out.
If he is healthy for 16 games, people will realize who he is. He will be a starter by week 8.
What's your final score prediction, though?
23-17. Eagles.
I had to go by the 6. 23. No, they're going above 25. Also, second question. First 3 wide receiver set. Who is it? Who is paired with Deshaun?
Rager and Ward.
Ward. Okay.
Yep. I like it.
Won't be no J-Jaw. Okay.
Well, okay, but here's the thing.
No mixing up. Nope. Take backsies.
No, it's not a takes backsies. JJ will be the first person to score a touchdown for the Eagles this year. I'm letting you know in advance.
Oh, I like it. That's a full take.
You wanted a big take. You wanted a hot
I
take.
like it.
JJ looked really good this year. He's also got a sleeve now, which makes him 10 times cooler.
Yes, and he's got a tattoo sleeve too. He's going for 30 touchdowns.
Look, I think this redemption tour is a real thing. He really took it seriously. He has the right frame of mind. He looks a lot more athletic as a route runner. And they're going to use him like they did at Stanford. I think when you look at coaching in general, I think the problem the Eagles have had is the personnel department has drafted guys that are talented, but they don't necessarily fit. Unless you're going to be fluid yourself and coach them to their strengths. I think everything I've heard about Aaron Moorhead has been phenomenal. Very good teacher, very likable, easy to relate to. Same thing can be said for Marquand Manuel. And he's hopefully going to, raise a magic Marquand to the secondary.
Well, we know.
But look, here's the thing. Matt Burke, while he's never been a defensive line coach, is everybody I've talked to, his former players, other coaches, they think he's a brilliant teacher. So I think when you look at what they've done on the coaching staff, I wasn't a fan of the Press Taylor thing, but they have their sights set on making him like the next McVay. And they've surrounded him with some really smart people. Rich Gangrello, I don't think is much of a play caller, but I think he's a play designer, and he's very smart. Marty Morningwig, I think people are underestimating how big of a deal that was. I constantly saw him tutoring Jalen Hurts this offseason. I think that's his project. You'll notice they brought him in. I think they brought him in after the draft. So maybe that was what the thought process was. He's still got a very good relationship with Deshaun Jackson. I wrote about it the other day. He was yucking it up with Alshon Jeffrey and Jackson during practice almost every single day. So, Marty's got this, weird rep, but Deshaun made 2 of his 3 Pro Bowls with Marty as the offensive coordinator. They put up some major numbers with Marty as the offensive coordinator. So, I think he helps. My colleague Chris Franklin put out how Doug is the ballsiest or the gutsiest coach in the NFL. I don't necessarily agree with that. But I do think adding guys to the fold makes him the most intelligent or most prepared head coach in the league, if that makes sense. I think Andy Reid's actually the gutsiest coach in the league because he's willing to do stuff that nobody else does, negative or positive. But I think from Doug's standpoint, Doug actually with analytics is very calculated. When you use analytics, you're calculated. You're not necessarily, granted, last year they were not very good in 4th down conversion, and he still went for it. So, maybe he's the dumbest coach in the league. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, I'm just kidding. But I just think when you look at their coaching staff as a whole, I think if you see a lot of improvements, it won't just be the speed, it won't just be the transactions, but I think the coaching staff really has to own this year. Because this is a year of unknowns, and that's when you rely on the people in your brain trust. It's just a matter of fact. And so I think Chris did a great story, by the way. You should read it, about Doug being the gutsiest. I think he's definitely in the top 3. I think he spoke to Mariucci. He spoke to some former players. I think he did an incredible job. By the way, give Chris Franklin a follow. It's C Franklin News. Great follow, great addition to our beat. You can also sign up for Eagles Extra. We'll be doing commentary throughout the day. You just go to nj.com/text and you can sign up for Eagles Extra. 2 free weeks, so you can test it out. And guys, thanks for having me on the program. Sorry I have to run, but we'll do it again soon, okay?
All right, appreciate it, Mike. Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, sure thing. Have a good one, guys.
You too. All right.
Love that guy.
So, Tyler, we're about to have a really special guest join us real quick, though. A really special guest. Our guy. I'm going to let him in right now. Everybody's going to know him. All right, you guys ready for the stream? Giovanni! What's going on, Giovanni? What jersey are you rocking today?
Zach Ertz.
Yeah, baby, Zach Ertz. Let's go.
The man.
Yeah, you did start that hashtag, Pay Zach Ertz.
Yeah.
All right, so Giovanni, what are we feeling today? How when you woke up this morning? What were your feelings about Week 1?
I'm so excited to have football back. It's awesome.
Thank God we had football back. How many points do you think the Eagles scored today?
28.
28. That's a good prediction. I think that's a good prediction. That's a very good prediction.
How many interceptions by Myles? Nope.
At least one.
At least one. I like it. So, what are you looking for today, Giovanni? Like, what do you want to see? Do you want to see Deshaun go off? Do you want to see Jalen Reagor do something? What is Giovanni looking for when he's watching the Eagles game today?
I'm really excited to see the players that we can trust with the ball, like Zach Ertz and DJ. But I'm actually really excited to see Jalen Reagor in his first game in the NFL.
Yes, we're so pumped. I'm so excited to see what he can do. Do you think he scores today?
Yeah, he scores twice.
Put him in your fantasy lineup, folks.
You heard it here first. Giovanni said it first. If Jalen Reagor scores twice today, you know who to...
Oh no, we lost the man. We lost the man.
No.
Gio, give it. Oh no. It's spotty, man.
It is a little spotty. I'm gonna...
We're back.
Hey!
Thank God. So, Giovanni, on defense, Jalen Mills is playing safety now. Your guy.
Yeah.
You have Darius Slay making his debut for the Eagles. Nicole Roby-Coleman. They got some good guys on the defensive front. Malik Jackson's back. Josh Sweat starting. What are your expectations for the defense? Do you think the defense goes out there and just puts Washington in their place?
Honestly, our defense is so stacked this year, I don't think that they're going to be able to run anything.
Ooh. So you think they're going to shut Washington down?
Yes.
I like it. Giovanni is all in on the Eagles versus Washington. The defense shuts them down. Jalen Reagor destroys Washington.
Did we get a score prediction?
28-10.
28 to 10. Ooh, I like it. Giovanni's all in. He's saying, Washington, we're coming there to kick your butts. So we also want to give a little quick shout out. Giovanni starts his show, Philly Sports with Giovanni for Eagles Brawl. It will be ready this upcoming week. Giovanni's going to have so many good guests on his show. We already have it planned out. Giovanni, are you excited? How excited are you to start your first podcast?
I'm so excited because I can talk birds with everyone.
That's what we need. We needed to get you a platform so everybody can ask you questions and talk birds with you because you're our most hype Eagles fan. So, one last time before we let you go, let's get that hype speech ready. I know you got a hype speech ready.
Uh-oh.
All right. So, guys, I know we have a lot of injured people on the O-line already, but as Doug says, it's next man up, and I think that he's right with that. I think that it is next man up, and I think that our O-line can get the job done.
I agree with you, Giovanni. I think they do. I think Lane holds it out today. A lot of people are expecting him to lead the game. I think he's going to tough it out and play. I think the O-line will get it done, and I agree with you. I think the Eagles do win big. Giovanni, thank you so much for joining the live stream with us, telling all the Eagles fans how you feel today. We're all excited to hear from you. And then Philly Sports with Giovanni will be out this week. We'll try to get an episode out each week for you so you can talk to Giovanni yourself, and then he can let you guys know how he's feeling about his Philly sports. Giovanni, thank you so much for joining the stream with us.
Thank you for having me.
Shannon, you too as well. Thank you for hopping on the stream with Giovanni and having him on with us.
Absolutely.
Cheers.
All right, we'll see you guys soon.
Go Birds!
Go Birds! All right, that was at Real SJS Giovanni on Twitter. You can find him there. We're gonna bring somebody else in now. My good friend Sean Redden. Sean, talk to us, baby. Let's talk DFS real quick, man. I'm ready to put up my lineups and put up my Sneaker Eagles play of the week. What are you feeling like for DFS? Because it's week 1, man, and it's such an unorthodox offseason, man. What are you thinking?
Uh-oh.
Oh, he got you muted, Sean.
That'll probably help.
There you go. You're all good.
But I mean, this year is a lot of unknown, especially week one. And if the college football games from yesterday were any indication, I mean, there's going to be a lot of sloppy play early with guys not having any offseason programs really to get familiar with each other. So I think the strategy for week one needs to be guys who already have that continuity with each other. Teams that have been together. I mean, there's some rookies that you can take a shot on. Like I think if you want to value play, Rieger and Brian Edwards, because just the matchup is too good versus the Panthers this week, and Derek Carr seems to really like him. Like there's a few rookies, but to me, it's a lot of veteran heavy this week that you should target.
I did go veteran heavy, but I will first expose my Eagles fantasy DFS sleeper of the week. It is, when the screen pops up, Deshaun Jackson. The reason why I put Deshaun Jackson as my DFS fantasy player of the week is because he destroys former teams. This guy goes off versus former teams, and as you can see on the graphic below, he is 4,900 on DraftKings. That's a freaking steal. If he is not in your lineups, you will regret it, especially at such an affordable rate. You see what he did in Washington last year. You see what he did to Philadelphia when he was in Tampa Bay. You see what he did to Philadelphia when he's in Washington. It is time to put Deshaun Jackson in your lineups, and it also plays into what Sean was saying, because I agree with you. I think you need to get the veterans. I think you need to get the continuity built up. I like the Brian Edwards pick. I was going back and forth with him. I was even going back and forth with playing Carr in my lineup, because I will expose my DraftKings and FanDuel lineups right now, and then we'll see what you guys think. See what Sean thinks, because he has not seen them yet at all. So for DraftKings, I'm going Jimmy Garoppolo. I think the Arizona secondary is easy to pick apart. I know Deebo Samuel not being out there is going to hurt, but I do think Jimmy Garoppolo at that rate for 5,800 could do some damage. Josh Jacobs, that Carolina run defense is going to be putrid this year. Absolutely awful. And I do think out of the gate, the Raiders offense is going to start out a little slow. Pound and rock with Josh Jacobs. You can't go wrong there. As you can see, they made both my running backs made both of my lineups. I just could not find better plays for the value that they were at. I thought they were great value, especially for James White on FanDuel for 5,300. Cam Newton is going to treat James White like he's his Christian McCaffrey. I fully believe that. So the dump balls to the backfield, the short passes to James White, I think they're going to be there. A lot of value with James White right there. Marquise Brown, a little bit of a risk, especially since he's coming off the injury. But that first game last year when he was with Lamar against Miami, they hit in stride right away. Cleveland secondary is completely banged up. Greedy Williams isn't playing. Really only Denzel Ward out there is their only guy that they're returning from the last year from the lineup. Diggs, I think Diggs in Buffalo is real. I think that Josh Allen connection with Diggs is really real. We saw it a lot at training camp. I look at the Jets secondary. I look at Jamal Adams leaving. I think that's a huge play to put Stephon Diggs in there. I think he's going to pop off early. And again, you're looking at a passing offense that was successful last year. They had John Brown go over 1K yards. Cole Beasley, I think, over 800. There's a lot of production there. There just wasn't an alpha guy. Now you have that alpha guy in Diggs. I think it's going to pay off big this year. Deshaun Jackson, again, is my sneaky play of the week. Zach Ertz, I had him in both just because what he does to Washington. I mean, the guy's guaranteed 10-plus receptions versus Washington, so I had to eat that up. DJ Shark was my flex for DraftKings. I wanted to put him in FanDuel. He's a little higher in FanDuel. I think he's 65, 66. But Gardner Minshew and him are to pick off right where they left off. The Colts let go of Pierre Desir. I thought that was a bad move because they replaced him with Xavier Rhodes. If Xavier Rhodes at this point in his career is on DJ Shark, you're looking at a big day for DJ Shark. And then I had the Chargers in for my defensive special teams I just want to see if Joe Burrow has a welcome to the NFL moment against that defensive line, that secondary. I think there's going to be turnovers there. But on FanDuel's flip side, the only differences I have Wentz in at quarterback. Look, with Miles Sanders being out, I did actually just make this switch. It's not like I'm trying to go completely Eagles-based my lineup. I think Carson Wentz is going to throw the ball a lot. And for 77, I could do that on FanDuel. Josh Jacobs, James White, as we mentioned. Allen Robinson, I'm questioning Detroit's secondary. It's completely new secondary. Okuda's great. I think Okuda's going to be a great player. I don't know if this is the best matchup for him. His first game in the NFL.
Okuda is expected to be out today.
Oh, he's expected to be out. Okay, so I missed that. I did see he was questionable. I missed why he's going to be out. So that's even a better play for Allen Robinson because they had Desmond Trufant in there, who I think is completely washed. That secondary is completely brand new as well. Allen Robinson's a huge play. For 72, you can't beat that value. Terry McLaurin, I don't know if the chemistry is going to be there with the Eagles secondary. I think he could still have a big game. Again, him and Haskins been on the same page since Ohio State. The continuity plays a lot into that. I do have Deshaun Jackson, as we mentioned. That's my play for the week for the word. Ertz, again, we mentioned Eckler. I think Eckler's usage is going to be crazy today, especially against that Bengals defense. It's a fresh unit still, a lot of new starters. The whole linebacker unit is completely new. I do like Eckler in today. I think Tyrod dumps off a lot to him. Then I also put Bills in for FanDuel because Sam Darnold see ghosts sometimes. So if he sees those ghosts against that Buffalo defense, woo, we're going to get a lot of points from them. So that is my lineups for the day. I'll leave them up for 2 more seconds. You can see who I am playing. I'm going to hear what Sean has to say, and then we'll see if Tyler agrees with any of them. But that is who I'm playing, so I'm going to take that off the screen now and get back to our lovely faces. And Tyler's dog making an appearance on the live stream. Let's go, man. So, Sean, what'd you think? Who are you playing?
I like your lineup. I was looking at my notes while you were putting your lineup up. Stephon Diggs is the guy I highlighted. I try to find a lot of value guys. But Stephon Diggs is one of the bigger names who I felt like needs to be in your lineup this week. The Jets secondary isn't going to be very good. I like the Allen Robinson pick. I actually noted Anthony Miller is a guy I'm high on this week. I think he could have a big week. And then the Chargers defense and Eckler as well. Tyrod Taylor, I'm actually so disappointed that Taylor's playing for the Chargers. Burrow versus Herbert week 1, that game would have so much intrigue. I've seen the movie before with Tyrod Taylor starting. We watched it a couple seasons ago. Browns. So the Chargers, the only Chargers I'm touching today is Hunter Henry, their defense, and Eckler. But I like it overall.
There's a couple names. A tight end that people need to get familiar with. Eric Ebron is a bargain. And he's so touchdown dependent, but him going to Pittsburgh is going to be fun. He's a tight end that is going to be in a lot of my lineups, I would assume. Kendrick Bourne today. Look to see if Ayuk is going to play or not. Because if Ayuk is playing, by all means, he's a good start. But Kendrick Bourne, if Ayuk and Deebo Samuel are out, Kendrick Bourne should have some target value. And then I had one more guy that I didn't write down. Boston Scott. We talked about him in the beginning but Boston Scott's an immediate. I think he's going for like $4,200 or something like that. So, those are my 3 kind of guys. Everybody likes to kind of like my big time guy that I want to, and you mentioned it, is Devontae Adams, man. If you're talking about continuity, or if you're talking about things that have already kind of been there, Devontae Adams is going to dominate a lot of targets in Green Bay, and I think he was only going for like 7,600. So that was another good bargain there.
No Danielle Hunter today either for the Vikings, so that pass isn't going to be what it was.
James Robinson is great DFS value, though. The usage there is going to be high, although I agree with Anthony on that one. Justin asked, would you guys play Brown or Montgomery at your flex? I'm going to need some clarification on who the Brown is.
I'm assuming he's saying Marquise or David Montgomery, and it has to be Marquise. David Montgomery's questionable all week.
They actually, and you know what though, Schefter said that he's going to get his full workload, which still makes me a little nervous because who knows?
I'm a little nervous for David Montgomery. I think Tariq Cohen probably plays more snaps, maybe per chance. Yeah. But then you also got to remember they might use Cordell Patterson at running back.
Yeah, I would go Marquise if he's referring to Marquise. I would go Hollywood.
I did have Hollywood in my lineup. I just think that Brown secondary is that bad, though. It's really that bad. And it's, again, Joe Barry, whole new defensive system again, once again. Denzel Ward is really it. I'm interested to see if they put Ward more on Mark Andrews, per se, because of the safeties being that weak. I think they have Carl Joseph and Andrews Tadeo back there. That's not going to get it done. I would still play Marquise Brown. I think, again, I'm just going off of last year because, again, Hollywood Brown was injured last year. But that week 1 game where him and Lamar, boom, boom, boom. And Miami secondary gave him those opportunities. I think Cleveland secondary can do the same. Josh Brown.
Montgomery.
Does he mean John Brown? I think Josh Brown's the kicker.
Yeah, I think so too. Unless, dude, maybe it's a weird league. You could put a kicker as a flex.
See, John Brown might be a sneaky play because Diggs might draw more coverage, but I think Montgomery's a safer play there.
Yeah, you would think Diggs is going to start drawing more coverage like later down the line, probably not week 1. I think Diggs is
though if he does. The Jets secondary is that bad.
I know. And also,
is a good player.
Your lineup, DJ Chark. Everybody should buy DJ Chark stock. That is a future wide receiver 1. He's going to have a season, right? Yeah, he's going to have an absolute season.
They compared the potential season he could have to Devontae Parker's last year with Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, he kind of had something similar last year. He was DJ Chark. I traded Mike Evans for him in a first, for Chark in a first in my dynasty.
Wow.
Yeah, I took a gamble on him.
Let me post my lineup one more time. One more time for the viewers on here. I got Garoppolo and DraftKings at quarterback, Josh Jacobs at running back, James Wright at running back for both fantasy sites, Marquise Brown at wide receiver for DraftKings, Diggs at wide receiver for DraftKings, Deshaun Jackson for both, Zach Ertz for both, DJ Shark for DraftKings, and then the Chargers defense and special teams for DraftKings. I got Wentz for FanDuel at quarterback, Allen Robinson at wide receiver, Terry McLaurin, and I have Austin Eckler in the flex, and the defense is the Bills. That's who I have going right now.
Kyler is another good bargain at QB. He played really well against the Niners both games. I know that because I am on this West Coast side over here. But Kyler plays against.
He is a good player. I think he's. I want to say 63
in both games against San Fran last year. He played really well, and then he obviously got D-Hop. So Kyler's a good start this week.
I was playing Kyler and FanDuel before Wentz, but then I saw that Sanders was going to be out, and I'm like, well, he's probably going to throw the ball a bunch of times. Washington secondary is that secondary you can take advantage of the deep ball. The Eagles have the speed. I think it translates.
Yeah. Burrow's another good start.
Burrow is a good start.
Yeah.
I think he might throw some picks, though.
Yeah.
I think he's going to have especially that Chargers secondary is so tough. Even with Derwin James being out, you still have Desmond King, you still have Chris Harris Jr., you still have Casey Hayward. I think Nasir Adderley will take a step forward this year for them. Then Joey Bosa and Mark Ingram, and then you have
who do you think leads the Eagles in receiving yards today?
Who do I think leads the Eagles in receiving yards? Deshaun Jackson.
Deshaun, I think so too.
Yeah, Deshaun.
What about touchdowns?
I did predict that Rager would have 89 yards, though. Just get that out there. I predicted yesterday
89.
7 catches for 89 yards.
Specific number.
I know.
You got to have the specific receiving numbers, man. But I do think he has 7 catches for 89 yards. Deshaun, though, I mean, they're probably put Ronald Darby on it. I mean, I give that
the first today, man.
First double move. It's over. But not only that, here's what everybody forgets about Deshaun. Well, let's just get into that because he was my secret fantasy DFS player of the week. When Carson Wentz and Deshaun played that Week 1 game, it wasn't just the downfield passes. Carson Wentz was targeting him on the slants. He was targeting him on the outs. Every time Deshaun Jackson creates a little bit of separation, Carson Wentz threw the ball to him. He anticipated that you create that separation. I don't think that doesn't go away. I think that comes today. These guys train together. They practice together all the time. That Week 1 game last year, we were all worried about what type of page they would be on, and boom, it was right there instantly in the second half. I think it's going to pick up right where it left off. I absolutely do, because Carson Wentz loves targeting receivers with separation. I think that's going to happen today with Deshaun. If you don't have him in your DraftKings lineup at least, you're out of your mind. He's 4,900 on DraftKings. Get him in there.
He's going to be in like 90% of leagues, too, because of the bargain.
I agree. I think so, too. And then you look at Washington secondary. Once they said Kendall Fuller is out, because even then I wasn't that worried about Kendall Fuller. I think he's more of a hybrid safety nickel corner type. I don't think he's an outside corner at all. But once I said he was out, it's like, all right, then it's even better. Darby, Jim Moreland, Fabian Monroe, none of these guys worry me. I even think Mike's prediction that he had when he was on here that J-Jaw gets the first touchdown, I don't think that's that crazy.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it's going to be Deshaun Day, though. I think it's going to be Deshaun Day.
If it's over 20 yards, it's not going to be J-Jaw.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely not.
He's anticipating a methodical drive. I don't know how many of those we're going to have.
Maybe for the first drive of the game.
Did you notice that though with the Texans Chiefs? They're just like the ball's going to get out so quick. Like especially with the Eagles, that's what I want to see. Protect Wentz. Just get the ball out quick. Be decisive. Don't hold the ball too long, bro. Like get acclimated with your offensive line. That's the biggest thing I'm looking for.
I would hope they utilize the quick passing in the screen game today because of the offensive line.
Yeah.
Being the shape that it's in. You have to get the ball out quick. I want to see Carson Wentz roll out too. I want to see him be out of the pocket.
Yes, misdirection. Yeah. And don't be. It kind of contradicts what I just said because I went the quick game. But we've seen Peterson have this tendency to like almost shelter Carson Wentz, where he doesn't want to take shots. Yes, get the ball out quick, but be calculated and make the defense respect. Don't let them stack the box. You need to get some cover 2, cover 3 looks to where they are backing up. Because that's what defenses have been able to do is just play downhill against the Eagles because they can't stretch the field. So hopefully we get some actual shots, and Peterson's not playing too preservative.
All right.
Or
Well,
conservative, I should
let's
say.
do some final score predictions up in here. All right. So let's add our producer back in here, Greg, real quick. All right. I need to
I got a
have some.
headset now.
Awesome. I need to add some score
Hey!
predictions. All right. So my score prediction is going to be 24-13 Eagles. Tyler,
31-17. Birds.
31-17. Sean, what do you got?
I'm more along the lines with Tyler. I'm going to say 31-20.
Okay. Greg, what do you got?
Close, 34-20.
34-20. All right.
That's what I got.
So anything we want to add on DFS side, Sean? Anything else we need to keep our eye on? Any gambling stuff you want us to keep our eye on?
I mean, gambling, my phone's are blowing up to 6 a.m. I have the Green Zone podcast available every week, every Wednesday night. Hit over at a 68% clip last season. Trying to get higher than that this year and keep making money. But DFS, real quick, I just want to add for Eagles, almost said the R word, Eagles Washington football team note, Antonio Gibson, I think, is actually a sneaky play at the running back position this week.
I think I do from a receiving standpoint. I kind of agree with you. I think he'll receive the ball. I don't know about running the ball well. I think it's going to be a little tough study for him running the ball. But
Yeah.
PPR
catching
format.
wise, against the Eagles linebackers and Will Parks being down the safeties, I kind of tend to agree with you on that one. And Mike said the same thing. I kind of think Antonio Gibson makes his mark within the receiving side of things. I don't know about running, though, because they do have J.D. McKissick as the starter, and then they have Bryce Love back there, too. I don't know how much you want to put on Antonio Gibson's workload, especially since he's still developing as a runner. But as a receiving threat, yes, I do agree with that. I do think he could be a sneaky play, and he could score against us for sure.
In a lot of my leagues, J.D. McKissick's getting picked up too.
He's
A lot of
supposed to
people-
start, so I don't think he's going to do much against
snagged
the
him in
Eagles.
the
He's
dynasty.
supposed to lead the guy. But, all right, that does it for us here at Eagles Brawl. Thanks you all for tuning in for our first pregame show. We'll probably do a postgame wrap-up just because we want to talk ball, and hopefully we'll vent if something bad happens, or we'll celebrate if all the good happens. So
I might be intoxicated. I don't know.
I
need to
will be
research.
intoxicated, that's for sure. I will be for sure. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you again. Sean, you can meet it. What was the podcast called again? Green Zone?
The Green Zone, yeah, it's on Spotify, Anchor, Pocket Cast.
All right, find Sean on the Green Zone. Greg, give him your ad real quick.
For sure. Oh, at G Malinchek NFL. MALENCHEK. It's hard to. I could
We'll get
type
the
it up in
plugs.
there. I'll type
get
it up
you.
in there.
Get you.
I'll type it up.
And then T Steege NFL, you already know. And then at Conor Myles NFL. So we'll see you guys soon. We'll probably come back on for a post game wrap up because Tyler and I like to talk. All right, man. We'll see you guys.